This is the second edition of an event that our firm, Durlston Partners, set up with essentially the prime objective of bringing people into a room together, first and foremost, so that you guys feel heard and seen, so that you feel empowered, so that you can connect, and most importantly, so that we can celebrate you all. So tonight we have the absolute pleasure of hearing from some brilliant women in the industry.
I would say when it comes to obstacles, the main one for me personally was the imposter syndrome that a lot of us face when we enter the industry. So a lot of the times you might feel like, oh, do I deserve to be here? Am I here just as a diversity quota? Because those are the things we often hear. And you constantly feel like you have to prove that you deserve to be where you are, which is actually completely incorrect, because in this capitalist society, like, no one is going to hire you if you don't deserve to be there. So you need to be very good at the job you're doing in order to actually get hired.
I worked in the industry for, I think, 20 years now, 22. And I'm definitely the oldest on the panel. And over the years, I saw women as brilliant as me, as resilient as me, choose to step back because they want to look after their family or they feel exhausted. And women like us who are smart, driven, and good have lots of options. And any given time, it's easy to say, I want to take a different option, which I'm not against, because I think everyone has to decide what's the best thing for you. But that is the biggest reason I see women leaving a very competitive, a bit toxic industry. I would say, the leaking pipe is due to social pressure and lots of the culture thing, and just be mindful of that when you want to make a decision.
Yes, there's the barrier in. Yes, there's the retaining women, when they want to go and have children or they want to take some time off. But actually also we've got a lot of startups in the UK. We're going to have more. There's the issue also about these small companies just being full of men. That first woman coming in, it's really quite tough. It's going from that bigger company, more structure, more support, to that smaller startup feel where I basically have to be the one that has the motivation and drive to be much more proactive, and that's not really going to happen if I don't do it, basically.
I've encountered all the challenges we've talked about, but I think one of the biggest ones is keeping going when there's a lack of a role model that really fits the mold that you are. It was challenging to try and find role models in order to follow in the footsteps of, and sometimes, sadly, you have to be the role model that you want to see. If there's anything you feel you want to do, just go ahead and do it. You don't need to have someone take the path before you.
And I'm sure you'll feel that being in this room and seeing other women like you, it's encouraging, it's heartwarming, and you feel more confident afterwards. And all these things carries on and you spread it. And that's the least I think we can do.
In terms of actually encouraging more women into tech, I strongly believe that this starts from quite a young age. So even before we get to school, society still tells little girls and little boys to do different things. And aside from the tech thing, which is big, the finance side of it as well, I think is a really, really troubling side of it, because women and little girls are not really told to care about finance. And that means that a lot of women end up not being financially independent and not being financially literate. And I appreciate everyone in this room obviously has either overcome that or they've come from the supportive family that I came from, and I think quite a few people in this panel came from, where it was different. We were told you can do what you want, it doesn't matter what gender you are.
I know there's loads of amazing initiatives out there to try and get more young girls into doing STEM subjects more generally.
I volunteered with this amazing organization called STEMETS. They're organizing hackathons for young girls, actually for all girls between the ages of 5 and 25, which is a very wide range of ages. And these hackathons are meant to encourage mostly young girls at school level to enter the tech field. And I met so many brilliant young women, and I had amazing conversations with them, and they're all so creative and so open-minded. So I'm hopeful that this new generation will be able to bring a lot of change into this field.
And the reality is that there's other initiatives out there, such as boot camps, that are doing things like retraining to try and tackle the diversity problem that we have just now. This isn't a problem that can wait for the next generation to be encouraged. We need to deal with it now.
Code First Girls, great company. So their nano degree is their latest idea of basically trying to bridge the gap between women wanting to move into the industry but not having the skills to do that. And like you said, they normally come at this at a later stage in their life, so they probably don't have the skills from the school time. So what Code First Girls have come up with is this nano degree where it is 16 weeks and you specialize in either, they've expanded it now, but at the time I think it was the coding Python side of it or the data SQL side of it, and I think they've now got a front end one as well. So the idea is that they partner up with companies who basically say, we will take these women on at the end, you will upskill them basically, and they will be tutored by someone like myself who's already in the industry, and a few other, I think most of the lecturers actually were already in the industry. So it's not only about the technical skills, which are obviously very important, but it's also about the softer skills and actually quite interestingly, a big emphasis on project management, which I think is really good because it means that also once these women go in, they can also extend up to being more senior.
I guess the only other one that we've been looking at collaborating with that might be interesting for anyone is Code Bar, which is not focused on female diversity, but diversity across the board. So they run workshops across the board, targeting refugees, other groups from all sorts of diverse backgrounds, with workshops, meetups, and all sorts of different sessions, career-focused sessions, all that kind of stuff to help people into tech. And this is something that we can collectively push, that there are alternatives and alternative ways to get into this industry rather than just having a degree. And we're missing out on a massive pool of diverse and smart talent if we don't address that.
This is a big thing for me. Women don't talk about money. It's an issue. There's already not that many of us in the industry, okay? If we then don't discuss our salaries and our salary expectations with our seniors, our managers, things aren't going to change. You need to be able to have those conversations, partly so for example, when it comes to talking about your salaries with your colleagues or with a recruiter to understand what the market situation is, it means that you can actually benchmark where you are, so you can understand whether or not you are being paid fairly.
We were conditioned to not liking negotiation. We're embarrassed to talk about money, and men consider it aggressive. Being aggressive at negotiation is a positive thing, and we often shy away from it, and that put us at this disadvantage. And what I find is actually when you negotiate, when you honestly tell your boss what you've done really well and what you expect, it helps them to negotiate with upper management, because they don't get to decide how much raise you get. They don't get to decide exactly what to do with you or the other member of the team. They need to make the case with upper management.
Most companies will have a review process. You really need to be selling yourself at that review process. And I know it's hard. I have to do it every 6 months. It's really, really awkward. But if you do not feel cringed out and awkward by the end of that review process, you probably haven't sold yourself enough. one thing that my manager actually gave me a really good piece of advice. He said to me, I'm not going to remember everything you do over the last 6 months. Of course he's not, he's got to manage a few people. Obviously I'm the star, but he can't remember everything I do. You need to write it down. You need to keep metrics as well. Software engineers, we love data. So keep metrics where you can, keep information that upper management can basically quickly use to decide whether or not you should be pushed for a different band in salary. And I would also say when you go into a new job, negotiate, really push for more.
I need to be telling my boss what events I've been doing, what content I've been doing. I need to know things about views and stuff. And one of the things I did to make it more palatable is I started calling it my win book. So I actually note things down in a separate notebook and actually say, look, these are the things that I've done. And that means that when it comes to we do quarterly reviews, it's not just 6 months. I then have the information at my fingertips.
If you have a really good recruiter, they will help you with that negotiation as well. Because I know it doesn't come naturally, but really, I cannot stress it enough. Like, start talking about it.
I think one thing that we don't talk about a lot in finance firms, especially a bit more traditional, like large-scale finance firm, is like different groups have very different compensation. And it's something that you wouldn't know until you actually in the group. And front office makes more than back office. The closer to the bone, the sweeter the meat. And so the closer you're to a directly revenue generating team, or you're in that team, the more money you'll be rewarded, the bonus per se at the end of the year. And that could be very, very different from your base salary. And all these informations you can try to get from recruiters, which, helpful recruiters here. And these are the information that you wouldn't easily get from just HR.
But I think on the general attraction side, one of the things that I've looked for more as I got older and been more honest about is I do look at the perks and the culture when I'm interviewing for a company. When I first started, I thought that it was about getting a job and that's it. But the reality is that a recruitment process is a two-way street. You need to know that it's the right place for you, and the company need to know that they're getting the person that they want for the role that they're actively advertising for. So with that, it's okay to ask questions about the positives and negatives.
I don't want to say money is everything, but as we work in finance, money is very often the scoring board. The more money you make, people respect you more. Actually, the more money they pay you, the more they respect you because you're expensive. And so do not think if I negotiate, I look greedy. No, if you negotiate, you know your value, you look confident, and that's a positive thing. And the other thing I have to say is being financially comfortable is one great advantage to work in both finance and tech. So definitely make it a positive experience. Try to get over your initial embarrassment, and you will feel rewarded afterwards, and that will help you to go further.
The biggest advice for me would be to actually believe in yourself and know that you do deserve to be there. Don't feel like you don't belong there, like you don't deserve it. You definitely do deserve it. You do need to fight for yourself, but also know your value and advocate for yourself. That's the biggest takeaway I've gotten so far.
I would say persist, and perseverance matters. And if we make slower progress, which due to lots of reasons, don't panic. Don't think that, oh my goodness, I didn't make director before 30, I'm doomed. Just take it easy and do it at 35. But, life is a marathon, and you're going to be taking some time, have fun if you want to, but also, keep working. And if you don't achieve it in 5 years as you planned, don't panic. Do it in 10 years.
Always ask questions. And when I first started started my career in general, I really struggled to ask questions because I didn't want to sound stupid. And I thought, oh no, I can't ask that question because that's really obvious. To be honest, it happened at university as well. And I look back on it now and I think I wish I had just asked the question, because actually, you know, I'm an intelligent woman. I'm sure other people were also thinking the same question, but also, even if they weren't, I didn't understand something and I needed to understand it. So therefore, I should have asked the question. So I now ask questions all the time.
The other advice I give is community and connections with people is such an important thing to help you. Tech industry's hard. FinTech is even harder. I've been in both. And the thing that's helped me is the support of connecting at communities. So go to events like this, go to meetups, find like-minded friends and colleagues throughout not just your own organisation, but the other parts all over the place. Because you'll find like-minded people that can support you and, in my case, in a couple of instances, give you the nudge you need to kind of progress you forward.
And another thing I would say is, and I think probably you can do this at smaller companies more than you can bigger companies, but if you want to work on a certain bit of your company, if you want to work on a certain product, for example, ask to work on that product. Really push for it, because your manager, they can't read your mind. They don't know what it is that you want. They don't know where you want your career to go in X amount of years. So if you really want to do something, just let them know, and if they're good, they will do whatever they can for that to happen.
No two women in tech or fintech look the same, and it's okay to be yourself. You don't need to confide to any norms of the society or what they expect you to be if you are good at your job. So in terms of where I see the space going in the future, I am optimistic. I'm seeing a lot of young girls who want to enter tech, who are more interested in earning money and going into fintech and standing up for themselves. I think the new generations care much less about gender norms and what's, meant to be a male-dominated field or a female-dominated field. They don't care about it. They want to be where they are and where the money is. So I am quite optimistic for the field in the future.
I made a career pivot into crypto a year and a half ago, and that was quite exciting. I was in quant finance most of my career in the past. It's a really exciting space, and as this is Women Crypto event, I assume lots of you here are interested in crypto, and I think the technology of crypto is going to be a really big thing. It's going to be the next life-changing, literally change the way people interact, and the decentralized social network, decentralized finance, and all these things are going to be really cool, really exciting. And so I want to be here just because I want to see what it will bring, and I think many of you probably do.
I entered the crypto space 2 and a bit years ago from traditional finance, knew nothing about cryptocurrency apart from, Bitcoin was a big thing. Still kind of is. I would just add to what you said, like the thing with crypto, okay, the landscape is going to be very different even in a year's time. But what is amazing about the crypto space and the people that work in it is the new tech that comes along, and the way that it is picked up so quickly and used is really, really impressive. And also, I think it is highlighting that there is a different way to do finance in general, such that it doesn't just make a few people rich. And I think that is a really key thing to take away from crypto as well.
I know that it's not easy being a woman in the industries that we work in, but it's not all bleak. And I hope if there's one thing that you guys can take away from today is that there is hope, and most importantly that we are in a really, really privileged position in terms of we are at the forefront of being able to make the change that we want to see. And we all have the power and the privilege to do this in our organizations, really to make these waves, to create a more equitable workforce, not just for women, but for anyone in general. So I really, really hope that this is like your key takeaway from the evening, and we can carry on this high.